Okay guys, I was talking about cameras and the camera that I used during the filming of the Battle of Brandywine. And like I said, I had another camera that I did use while I was doing some filming for the Battle of Brandywine. And I think I had mentioned in a post that I was going to share that information with you about this other camera. Now, I bought the other camera about maybe 6 months after I bought that little tiny JVC camera that I showed you in those videos. This one is a little more trickier to use, but had good features and had some bad features that I didn't like. Here's the camera right here. Now, this is a pretty good camera. I really enjoyed this camera for a limited amount of time that I was making the films. I filmed about 6 or 7 to, I think, 10 of my those videos that you saw on this camera right here. Now, that's a little larger than the other one. This is somewhat bigger. As we could see, there's a larger area on this side. And if you look down the camera, you'll see that this large area extends on this side here. And it's a beefier camera. Now, the batteries on this camera and the other tiny JVC that I was using are interchangeable. They come out. Like I said, I would have 3. I had one that came with this camera that was this size. It was the 1400 size battery, and then I had another 1400 battery that went with the other camera, and then I bought one larger battery. I think this was I think we were talking about this before. This battery, let's see what the size is. It's a 2100. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good amount of time on this little battery right here. Now, for demonstration purposes, we'll put the larger battery on. Okay, just seems to slide in here. It's it's some type of bayonet mount. Even my Canon G30 uses that same mount where you have an it comes off from underneath, and then you put the battery in, you slide it upwards. The Canon G30 still utilizes that system of battery and how to attach to a camera. It's wonderful. It's easy off and it's easy on. Even with the G30 and this JVC. Now, these are maybe 10 years apart, these cameras, when they were developed, and they still use that type of battery. Now, the battery on the JVC, because of this camera being smaller, it's definitely going to have a difference of battery size too. The G30 Canon battery is just somewhat larger than this battery, but it's exactly the same mounting system. Okay. Now, this camera is different. Okay, now this camera right here has micro cards it uses, but it doesn't use micro cards. It only backs up or stores on micro cards. The main way that this camera stores information is on this large format here. We see this, and it's different. You know, if you look straight down the camera, you notice that this is higher, and there's something here. This is the hard drive. There's a hard drive in this camera. You don't even need a card. This has 120 gigabytes. Now, you're talking back in 2012, 2013 time. That's humongous. I mean, that's like having a mini computer where you can download all your information onto this. I mean, you could put anything on this you wanted. This is like a storage device. If you had information on your computer that you wanted to store, you could just download it to this camera and use this as a mini, or not a mini, but a large USB. I mean, here it is, a USB storage device. It's wonderful. Now, you could store, I think it was upwards of, it was like 41. Now, this would be the highest. This is in the HDD format. I have to look in the camera to see what the highest would be, but it is on the highest right now. And that would generally be probably in the range of maybe like, I would say 40 hours of video that you could store on this. And that's a humongous amount. And now the difference between this and that smaller camera, like I said, the other camera didn't have an internal storage. This has internal storage, and that you would have to physically take a USB right here and plug this in and download the information onto your computer. Extremely easy, but if you didn't have the cord, you got a big problem because you couldn't do it wirelessly. You couldn't transfer information. It had to be done by a cord. Okay, now, and also that I noticed between the two cameras, I don't have the other camera with me, I should be having it to do some demonstration, is that the power cord are not interchangeable. It would have the round tiny jack that you would open up on the side of the first camera I showed you, and this one is somewhat of like a weird type of plug that just plugs into this. Not interchangeable, big problem, okay? If you were to use one camera goes down and the other one you have with you, it's going to be a problem because you cannot charge. And if the batteries are dead, you're kind of out of luck. You would have to physically get that cord and plug it in. And I also noticed that when charging these batteries in this camera by using their power cord supplied with this unit, not the other one, it took longer to charge in this camera than the smaller camera. So I used, when I was filming with this JVC, which, let me go over, not to cut us short here, it's a GZ-HD520BU. It's a rare camera. There's the 500 and there's other cameras. You don't see too many of these. I don't know if they made very many of these. They're definitely discontinued. So to go back to the battery situation, is that what I did when I was charging these units at home, couldn't do it by, I did have a car charger, but the car charger did not fit this. The car charger that I had was the round type that only fit that other JVC. So I would take the battery off of this camera here, and then I would install this because they're interchangeable with both cameras that I had, and then I would install this battery into the JVC, the smaller JVC that I showed you, and it would charge faster than if you had the battery in this at home with the power cord. It took longer. Now, I knew that was going to be a problem, so I just brought along both cameras, and I did the recharging of these batteries when I used this unit for the other camera. That's great. Great thing to have on a JVC. Interchangeable batteries, but not interchangeable power cords. And as far as the USB, only this camera had USB. The other one didn't download through USB. You had to physically open up the port right here. And this is a micro SD card. It's a smaller SD card, okay? And you would just pop that SD card out with no internal memory on the other camera and then put it in your computer, which was pretty handy. I liked it, but you had a problem if you were doing a lot of videos. The SD card would get filled up really fast. You'd have to flick through it, figure out what scenes you don't want, because I had a lot of outtakes. I had a lot of tests that I was doing. So that little card started to fill up, and it was 16 gigs. Now, that's back in that day time. And it filled up, so you'd have to, you know, before you do a shoot, you were like looking at it, trying to figure out everything. Now this one, the SD card, I mean, 120 gigabytes is a humongous internal drive for this little thing. It's humongous. Now this was 720p. It's a high definition, like it says, HD, but it's HD back in the day. It's not 1080. I mean, yeah, 1080. You know, 1080p or whatever it is now. It's not that. It is definitely a lower quality, and you could definitely see that. Now this one, I already did a test on this camera. Let me back up. I did a test on this camera, and it is functional, and I can download the information. So basically, we'll get an idea of what this looks like, because I think, as I was saying before when I was going over the videos, I said that this was, the color wasn't right. Something was not right on this. Now, I went through the menu last night. I looked through the whole camera, and I scrolled through the menus, and I found out that it was on it wasn't on the highest quality. It was on the next to lowest quality on this camera. Maybe that has a difference. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. All right, let's go over some of the features. Like I said, it does have an extra battery. It fits both cameras. Okay. Now this one here, if you watch, as you open this up, okay, there it goes. The lens, you don't need to push that button. On the other camera, you'd have to click it physically. This one here, it automatically opens up. You see? Closes. Opens, okay? And the screen is somewhat the same. It's about the same diameter screen, but this is somewhat of a touch screen. If you notice here, you can be able to touch this. You see that thing light up, that blue light up right there? Okay? You know, it's just blue. But this was somewhat of a touch screen. You could actually physically, you know, go to the menu from this. You can go to the menu from here. You can go to the menu, and you can record from here, which was nice, because if you had it on a tripod, you just touch the record button, it would start recording. Okay, you didn't have to touch the back button. It does have a back recording button. That was helpful if you were hands-on. It has image stabilization. It does have a photo option, as you just heard. It has a photo option, which is great for this type of camera. Because a lot of times, you know, you could just pick this camera up and you're not recording. Maybe you want to take pictures of subjects or maybe some trees and bushes or maybe you're scouting a location. A lot of times what I did when I used this camera, I used this camera, I brought it with me because the other one clearly did not take a photo. It wasn't a photo camera. This camera just recorded. Now this one was handy, like, say I was driving around the area and I noticed that, oh my God, what's that? And I saw a building or some type of out structure that was historic. I would drive by the historic structure. I would take a picture of it, of course, and then I would hit the record button with the lens, basically, just showing in the car, and I would speak into it. All right, photo with description. I would say, oh my God, there's on Smithbridge Road, there's a structure off to the right, down the road about a half a mile that we should take a look at. So it was basically, this camera was photos, and it was, I documented different things that I wanted to do. Very good, very handy when you have a small unit like this. Now with the G30, there's no possible way, man. The G30 is huge. The camera I have now has a tripod, it's got a microphone, it's got a light system, it has a rail system, and it's got the MCC-2 audio on it. So it's more of a tripod, but it is, you can rearrange those things and carry it. But it's not like this. It's not like you could just take a picture of something right away and then, document it later. As we were talking before, it has image stabilization, which is wonderful. Okay, that seems not to be on. I was probably messing with it. Now, from right now, I'm on the gigabyte hard drive. There is no SD card or micro SD card in here. Not SD, but it's a micro SD. There is no card in here, and I'm looking at 11 hours and 5 minutes. Now, that's with a few videos on here, not much. That's a lot. That's a long time this hard drive. It's huge, huge hard drive. Like I said before, like I said before, I say that all the time. I didn't say before, not that I said before, but it has a west to east rocker switch, which I really did get used to. This switch goes left and right for zoom, and for a small camera like this, it was wonderful because when you put your hand into this camera, this smaller camera, I'm going to close it because it's making noise. What you do is your index finger right here naturally just sits right on top of that button. So this tiny cameras, even the Sonys or some of the Panasonic that came out, it's a wonderful thing. You don't need that north to south rocker because the way my hand's positioned in here, it's just too small. If you notice, you'll come over, and if you did have a rocker switch, look where my fingers are. They're almost at the screen here. It's just so far away. That's where this comes into its own. So they designed it as the camera got larger. The east-west rocker became obsolete. Your hands didn't end up in that area. With the G30, the camera is much larger. I wish I could take the G30 off, which we will do. I'm going to take that G30 off, and we're going to use this tiny camera. Now, like I said before in my other videos, I'm not going to really go over that G30. I'm just going to go over this camera. Now, as you see, this camera is somewhat larger because of the hard drive. It looks like they just took this camera and they did an Arnold Schwarzenegger on it and put it on steroids. I'm not saying he's on steroids. And, I want to say, good luck, Arnold Schwarzenegger, on your surgery. It's really good, man. You're a cool guy, and, you go. He had surgery on a heart valve the other day, and he's doing well, so way to go, Arnold. This right here, like I said, it's larger, and that's where the hard drive would be on this camera. Now, the fit and finish of this camera is much better than the other one. The other one was kind of metallic black paint. This is extremely smooth. All the edges feel wonderful. I mean, this was the Cadillac of the line, I would assume, because of, having so many options on this. This had a little more options than the other camera had. It had a few more things. Now, going into that, the few more options that I liked about this camera that I just found out last night, and I wish I would have used it more. If we do go into the menu on this camera, okay, like I said, it has face priority, which, my G10, you have that box that follows your face around, and it goes around your face, and it's a priority on your face. Now, with the G30, I don't need it because I'm tripod. I could just basically just hit a button and focus in and then lock it. And when it's locked there, you don't have too much of a problem. Okay, so you have the self-timer, which is wonderful for pictures. If you want to take a photo, that didn't click that time because, let's see, if I go quit, then I could take pictures. But if I go into the menu, it's not going to allow you to take pictures. So let's go back to the menu itself. And this is how you scroll through the menu. You go through like this. You just touch. It's not a true touch screen. It's not a true touch screen. But the touch control is still there. It's off on the side. Okay, it's where that blue light goes up and down, if you see. So let's go to the top of the touch screen. Like I was saying, self-timer. The shutter mode is pretty good. I won't go into that. The image size is, that's just it's the size 4:9, and fit 16:9 into your screen. Now the image quality, let me hit the set button and take a look at the image. Then there's fine and there's standard. That's, like I said, I went into this and I figured out, what was going wrong and what wasn't going wrong. And I looked at it and it wasn't on the highest setting. Okay, let's go back to the menu again. And it's nice, those sounds, those really quick sounds, they made it a lot better because you were able to hear the commands. Even if you were, you were messing around with this, every beep, beep, it just sounded. You knew that it was moving when that sound made. Now the I think the G30 you can have the sounds like that. I didn't go into that menu yet, but for the G30 when you scroll, it's absolutely silent. Okay, image quality, like I was saying, gain up. We know what that is. Now this was what I liked. I'm going to show it to you. This is where the blue is. If you see the blue, okay, what does that say? Now, I really extremely wish the G30 had this function. Now, it has it somewhat, I'll go into that later, but it says auto record. Now, if ever you guys are like, hunting and, you're scouting the area out, and you don't want to sit in a tree all day and look out at the area. Oh, there's the buck I want to shoot. There's this deer I want to shoot. This camera, it's not water resistant, of course. Could be a trail cam. You know what I mean? You would set this, okay? And if there's any movement, there's a little box that comes up. Let me see if I want to do that. I'm going to show you this little. This is a great feature. I've never seen it on any other camcorders. I'm sure there are camcorders that have it. But like I said, this was a better model. It's like the Cadillac. So let's hit this. We'll hit the set button. And it says image on and off. Okay, let's go down one. Okay, to the on. And you set it. Okay. And see that? See that box? Well, the box didn't. There's a box. Okay, there's a box right there. All right. If I go like this, hear that? It'll take pictures, but it will take video also. Not only will it just. There's a picture. It's taking photographs as we hear. If it's in front, okay, the red box is in front. It takes photos. You hear it. I don't have to do anything. See? Any movement. Now, it's not sensitive. It's not that sensitive, I noticed. It takes a little bit to get that thing to move a little bit. But when it's stable, okay, the red box is on. If I move it, jiggle a little bit. There's a little movement. It's not great, but it's good for what it is. If the subject is in that photo and goes back and forth, it's going to take a picture or it will take video. You have to change it in here. So we hit the menu again. Let's get out of it, okay? Okay, so we go back into the menu, back again, and then go back into the menu. And let's just adjust that. So we get down to, or up, I should say. Let's see, we go quit. Okay, go back into the next thing. Now this was pretty good. You could fly through these menus too, like I was saying before. I'm going to look up again, sorry. Let's just get these image setting, gain up, clock adjust, auto record. Okay, so we're going to hit set auto record, and we're going to do it off. Now this is the image auto record. I see I'm in the image mode. So let's go off, okay, and then we'll set that. So we don't have to hear that anymore. But this camera had the, if you had it on a tripod, okay, and you were doing hunting, and it was a clear night or, just dusk, possibly dusk, because this will not film at dusk. It has a low, the lens being how small it is, the light coming into it, it's not really good, too good in the dusk. It's horrible at dusk. We all know these cameras weren't that great at low light. All right, so it did take photographic and video. It would start the video, and as long as that animal or person was in that frame, in this little box, it would keep recording, As soon as that animal or person left, bingo, then it would stop. So it was a it wasn't time lapse. It was a wonderful thing if you weren't there, that if you needed a trail cam or something, or watch people coming on your property, you can hide this thing in the bushes and have it sticking out and see if anybody drives up your driveway or goes on your private land or whatever. It doesn't really make a difference. But that was a simulation. So let's go to the menu again. We're going to go down. Like I said, we were at the auto record settings. We have display settings, of course, the brightness of the screen and so forth, the clock adjust, and we have basic settings. So let's take a look at those. Demo mode, we all know what that is. Auto power and off was nice. If you were on a tripod, now I would turn this off, of course, when I was on a tripod doing videos, because you didn't want it turning off when you walked away and you weren't recording, the camera would shut off. I like to have the camera on, or the video, anything to be on so I can monitor what was going on. Okay, operation sound, that's a clicking noises. I like it. I like the operating sounds on this camera. It made me know that I was scrolling through the memory, and not the memory, but the menu as I did. The record button is on, of course. The record button would be the screen. The screen had a record button, so you can have it set up and press the screen. You have to go around and click it. Okay, you can turn that on and off. I always keep it on because I like that. Now, this was a neat little feature of the camera. As you see there, it says drop detection. Now, drop detection was good too because you know, it would automatically turn the camera off, so you didn't damage it. So when it sensed a vibration, but that came back to bite you in the ass a few times. I noticed when I had it on, the drop detection, that if I did put this in my hand. Okay, I'll show you right now. You put it in your hand. And I noticed that if I was running or doing something where I just was like putting that camera down real quick and maybe pick something up, this would shut off. Just boom. I mean, off. Black screen. And I didn't like that because it was very extremely sensitive. In a good way. It could be a good way that it sensed movement, shut the camera down. Drop detection. I have it on now, but I did turn it off a lot because I noticed that feature was iffy. Not that good. Not that good. Okay, an update, factory update. I never used it. I don't know if I wanted to update the camera or anything. And then, of course, the factory reset, just reset the whole camera. Now, you could format the cards through here. You can format the hard drive. Formatting, what it means, they don't use format. Format was for camera. I always remember it as format. You format. It's initialize. That's what it's called on the G30. Initialize the card. Don't. You know, whatever. I know. I use, you know, I use that, whatever they use on the camera. If you want to wipe out the card, that's what you did. You wiped it out. And you can wipe out the hard drive, which, oh man, there was a lot on this thing. I plugged this in and there's just so much. I had videos on here that I didn't know. I had outtakes. I had cuts. I had tests. It's interesting to go through this and look through it. Now, the other one didn't have an internal memory. So whatever I had on cards, I kind of formatted them and all that information was gone forever. But this, there was information on this. It was interesting to see pictures and things that I took of different places, which really helped me because now I can find a few of these places that I didn't go to. I have a few new, not Battle of Brandywine, just historic places that I can visit now that I didn't do, and I noticed them in this camera. Okay, another feature of this one, the JVC 520, that's what it's called the 520, was, now I didn't like it. If you look at this hand hold, it's real thin. It's thin, it's not as thick, but there's a reason why it's thin like this. Okay, if there's a clip here, if you push the clip backwards, I think it's backwards and not forwards, I'm going to push it like this to get it out. It pushes this out. It's kind of tricky though. This one's a pain in the, there it goes. And it comes off. Of course, now there's a reason why this pops off like this. Okay, now it's Velcroed. That's an adjustment strap on your camera. You pull it like this. Now, what I didn't notice before is that when you do pull this, now it's a lanyard. It can fit through your hand. It had a double function. And you can adjust this so it doesn't fall out of your hands. So you have your camera on a lanyard, which is really nice, but you can have it as a strap too on your hand. Now the other camera didn't have that, didn't have the lanyard function. No, it did have the lanyard. I'm sorry. They actually made a lanyard for it, but it was kind of like a pigtail lanyard. It was like over like this, okay, but then it had a pigtail connected to it. So do I like it? I think it's flimsy. I didn't really like the design of that, okay? How many times that I did use the camera, I didn't really enjoy that function. But you would put your hand in here, and then you would pull the strap, and you'd retighten that. And there you go. You're ready to go again. Bingo. Bingo was his name-o. Okay, photo. You could take photos on this camera. That was wonderful. Now, I think let me see. I mentioned all this. All right, let's look on the side of the camera. The speaker was good, but a majority of the time, the AV. Now, AV's tricky. AV's for, you know, your video, or if you wanted to plug it into your TV that had those type of ports, you know, those AV ports. But I plugged in my headphones. Now, when I did plug in my headphones, when I pushed it all the way in, it would be mono and only go in one ear. But when I pulled it out a little bit, just a little bit, that 3.5 plug, I noticed I got stereo. The stereo came in. So it was kind of tricky to do that. I didn't like it. And also, I would take a cord that you would use for your cell phone so you could play your cell phone on your radio in your car. Now, I don't have any Wi-Fi. I have a truck, an old truck with a, just an external port. So I would take the 3.5 here and put it in the 3.5 in my radio. So I would be watching my videos when I made them, and I would be hearing it through all the speakers in my truck, which was better that you didn't have to drag around headphones with you all the time to listen to your videos, because, like I said, this speaker is not great. I mean, it's muffled a little bit, and it's not that loud, and you don't know if you got good audio, but you knew one thing, you could hear that wind. Now, the speakers here are a little bit better. They're in the same location. They're two front speakers, left and right, of course, and they're stereo speakers, so you can hear one speaker in the other. But that's it. You didn't have an external microphone like the G30 here. I can hook 3 microphones up if I want to onto this. I can do different channels if I wanted to. I don't think 3. You can only hook up 2 right now. I have A and B on this, but I'm sure that you can probably get. You can use your front speakers on my camera. You can actually mix the audio from the front side, so it would be 3. I'm sorry. Okay, so this camera, like I said, the wind cut on it has the same type of wind cut. The wind cut it's not good. I'm telling you the truth. There's no dead cat on this. There's nothing to block the wind from going through that. There's no, speakers, the microphones, the Rode microphones you can use today. You put dead cats on them, and yeah, they're good. They're good in the wind. I mean, it really does cut that wind down, but you'll get a little whistle every now and then through the mics. But this, man, it just rattled. It went through there, man. It was so loud in certain videos that I was making that it actually killed my audio. You couldn't even hear what I was saying. I was talking, I'm like, and then I do the video and I listen to it. I'm like, man, I'm done. I can't even hear because of the wind cut, the wind noise to cause these. Another problem. Consumer camera, little bit higher end, more functions. Consumer camera made for inside, somewhat outside, but not professional. Not for use in all situations that you're going to be in, say with this G30. G30 is meant for all kinds of things. You're walking in the woods, you could have the stabilization. We'll go into that later, but I'm just saying, comparing the two, it's not apples and oranges. It's apples and rocks, basically. An apple and a rock, I mean. But like I said, a lot of these small cameras, because of the small size, I could basically just put this in my hand. That's a great feature. That is a great feature, because you could just take these, you could put them in pockets of jackets. I had a lot of those, there was an M1965 Army jacket. If you guys are in the Army, you know those old zipper-up jackets that had 2 pockets here and 2 up here. Boom, right there, man. You put your lenses and batteries in other pockets. And then, your camera's right here. It would button, so your camera didn't fall out. Now, what we're going to do, I think I went over everything. Let me just go over a couple more things. Okay, the 1/4 inch is metal inside, of course, like the other one, so you're not going to have a plasticky kind of thing that's on your tripod. Stable. Of course, my tripod is it's a very good tripod. It's a tilt-all. Now, that's an old tripod that I use. I'll go into that in another video, but that bastard's all aluminum, and it's all aluminum. The whole, it's just a great tripod. It's not a Leica one, but this one was made in, it was made in the United States, and it says professional. It's a wonderful old 1980s, 70s tripod, and it still works today. It's wonderful. Okay, so like I said before, you can actually put a plate onto this. There's a portion up here. You can put a plate, slide it in and out. Didn't do that. I had, an old one. It would, boop, and there it is. It's attached. So I think I went over everything. Now, I did adjust this last night, so we're going to get some video on this, and I tested it to see that we can get video through this. So let me think that we went over everything. Of course, there's a replay button. It's just like the other small camera. It's a replay button. Okay, you can go from photo, okay, to video. So you can start taking photos through this. Okay, one more. You can go through photos, or you could just switch it, and now you're in the video mode. Very handy if you're on a site where you just want to take pictures, you don't want to go into the menu and change it. Boom, button right there. Okay, and upload. There's an upload button here. Now that upload button was basically put your USB in there, and then I think it was a micro. It looks like a micro USB. Let me just make sure. Just says USB, but it looks like micro. It's a micro USB to a regular USB. Plug that into your computer. Let it. It'll set up a driver in the beginning for your camera, and then you would just hit the upload button, and then you see on your computer where do you want to send the files to, and very easy. And you can send one file, or you can send the whole damn thing, or you can transfer files. What I liked about it is that I transferred a lot of files. I mean, you can, if you had a Word document that you were working on, you could send the whole damn thing and save it into here, a Word document, and take this camera to work, and then you take your camera, you put your camera down, and then you hook it up to your work computer, and there it is. There's your Word document. It comes right out of the camera. It's wonderful. You didn't have to take a USB or an SD card. Take your camera to work. Film people. Why not? Make a movie on the way. It was wonderful. Great. Great thing. All right, so that's pretty much it. It has the information button, of course, which was nice. It gave you the time. It gave you the length left on the hard drive or the SD card, and it gave you at the certain filming. The filming that I didn't have it on, it's called UXP, and it's 11 hours and 5 minutes on the hard drive, 120 gigabytes. The next one down, which I had it on, was XP. Maybe that's why the picture wasn't so great. And then you have SP, you know what the deal is, and then EP. So what we're doing, we're going to keep it at UXP. Hit the set button. Okay, scenes recorded in this mode are in high definition format and cannot be backed up on DVD. Set. Okay. JVC 520. Hard camera to get, discontinued. Large capacity battery. I still put this in my truck. I use an OtterBox. It's like a long OtterBox. It looks like you would hold like cigarettes in it, but it's the long one. You put this in the OtterBox. You put a battery on top. Take this camera, I put it in the OtterBox, I put this battery right on top. Close the lid of the OtterBox. You don't get any dirt inside the camera. It's water resistant. This is in my truck. So if I want to go to something fast, if I see something I want to videotape, that's it. All right, guys, I'm going to make a video, and I'm going to show you in a little bit what this camera looks like. You stay with me. Okay, guys, this is that tiny JVC 520. Now, I can see my head is cut off, but I would just assume that these are a little smaller, the lens is smaller, you're not getting it like the professional camera. Now, in the monitor, it looks real red. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a problem, but I want to give the demonstration of exactly what this camera saw and so forth. Okay, so I'm not going to touch any settings. Like I said, you're the judge of this camera. Okay, now, I don't know if you can see this, but this is the G30 Canon, okay? This is the camera I just used on my first video. Now, I have the Rode mic on this, and I have a lighting system on it. It's pretty bright. I usually just leave it at one setting. I have the Movo handle, okay, that has 1/4 inch, and then it has different settings. You can actually put things on this. Put it up here, the Movo. Now, I have the MCC-2 audio control. I can have 2 channels on this, left and right, okay? And then, like I said, it's a pretty good camera. And I use this quite often for all my videos, and it's got really good quality to it. And the Rode VideoMic Pro with the different stabilization. I forget the name of the stabilization, but it's a very good microphone. It's very adjustable. I like this because it has, it's not just like the VideoMic Go, which is horrible. You don't want that. You got to make sure your camera can use that, because this has a battery. This Canon right here has a problem that you have to have microphones that are self-powered, because this camera will not generate power through that microphone port. It doesn't do that. You have to have power going to this camera to operate this microphone. Okay, so like I said, the VideoMic Pro has a, it has a gain on it of anything under 80 hertz. There's a switch for under 80 hertz. Say you have hissing or an air conditioner, or even when I use a little heater over here, it'll dull out that noise if you have it on set like that. And then it has it on the regular, the regular microphone setting in the middle. And you have a +20, which is wonderful. Filming indoors, as I filmed when I did the video before, that was on +20. If you're outside, it's usually 0. I put it on the 0 mark, because you're going to get a lot of loud noises from cars hissing by and birds and kids. If you put this on 20, you can hear a kid down the street. It's so good. Or you can even use -20. -20 is pretty well if you just want to have your own voice or your surroundings be recorded. If you don't want the outside noise, you put it on -20. You can only hear close by. It won't amplify any noises further away. It's wonderful. And the switch here, this is like I said, the MCC-2. This is wonderful because your audio is adjustable. Say I have it in the +20 and it's a little loud. Instead of going into the menu, you could just turn it down or turn it up. And what's nice about the MCC-2 controller, it's a bypass control, is that it goes up by clicks. 1, 2, you can actually feel a click. So you can really tune in that audio. I like it because at 20, I call this 25, 50, 75, and 100. 20, this would be at 25. I call it 25. So if I want to go up 2 clicks, 25, 26, 27, 28. So I go up 28 if I want a little more. If I want a little less, I go 28, 27, 26, 25. So I'm back at the 25 position. Very, very nice. It isn't just like a tune knob that doesn't, this has clicks. That really helps those clicks. And like I said, I have 1 channel. It's on mono. So you're basically just using the shotgun mic, okay? And also that you can go on to stereo. So if you have 2 microphones, left and right, you can switch this to stereo, and you can have 2 channels. And you could tune both channels. Say you have 1 channel over here that's a little closer to me, I could tune that down. I could tune that down to get the, you know, that meter where it should be. All right, so I just wanted to go over this little camera. It's not the greatest, but you know, we'll go over this. My Canon in another video. That's just for reference and so forth. All right, so this battery I can see is getting ready to take a crap on me, it looks like. But listen, I'm going to get up. I'm going to do both videos. I'm going to forge them together. And I hope this was helpful because these little cameras, I said, were great for their time, and they're still great for certain things. Like for another video, it's going to be in 720, this video. It's not going to be in high def. It is high definition, but it's not as high def as this other camera. So listen, guys, stay tuned. I got some other videos I want to put on about some history in a little bit.